position is with OSU Extension, but I'm the primary contact for the Wagoner County Economic Development Authority. And I do want to recognize that I do have one of my board members in the room. Ben Harmon is on that board and has been on the board since its inception, right? Several years. It's the Wagoner County Economic Development Authority, and these are my charges: business retention and expansion, recruitment, leadership development. That's the one that's closest to my heart. Some of you that have been through the program know. And if you haven't been through the program, I do have your email address, and you will be recruited. So just know that. We do some small business assistance. Also help the different communities with planning and assistance. Demographics and research is really what I'm going to cover here with you later. Tourism development and the retail development. The reason that I'm here. Okay. Well, when the Wagoner County Economic Development Authority really started looking at our work and what we had always been focused on industrial development. And we had a planning session and realized that we were leaving one of our major communities out of that mix because Coweta really wasn't too linked in with industrial development. Their focus was retail. So we tried to figure out how can we really help Wagoner County in this respect. And what we came up with was looking at doing some research, and from that point, hired a consultant. Research is going to help us recruit new businesses to town, new retail businesses, and also help those existing retailers broaden their bases. And mainly, as you all know, cities and towns in Oklahoma are funded by retail sales tax dollars, and that's their only source of revenue, unless you are lucky enough to be our community and sell electricity. But that is the majority of the way cities see. So that was a huge driver in this as well. We did do some research, and this is the consultant that we settled on. It was the retail coach out of Dallas. We could have gotten this research from Oklahoma State or OU on retail gaps in our communities. But what we really wanted to do was to align ourselves with a consultant that had the connections with retailers on a national level. So that's why this one was chosen. And this is the process. They did some market, and we started this 6-8 months ago. They did some market analysis and community analysis, consumer analysis, and many of you in the room were involved on the front end of this and dealing in being our stakeholders, and that drove the research. I know Mr. Adams was in on that, several other of you were, and the consultant met with that group and really determined from that what is Wagoner missing, where are some gaps, and he did all kinds of research. From that point, they worked with retailers to match those demographics with retailers' needs, and we are in the 6th phase of the whole plan on the retail recruitment. Okay, this is a primary trade area, and it's not going to surprise you, most of you, with our population. That's about the number of folks that are in a primary retail trade area. And by primary, we mean the folks that live within this border. That's where they do the majority of their shopping is in Wagoner. That's what that group looks like. Average household income is about $48,000 per capita income. No surprise there about other demographics on. This is the interesting part. This is called something called psychographics, and I don't want to read it to you, but basically a lot of retailers use these kinds of groupings in order to look at their customer base. And by running the numbers, the consultant really came up with, for the most part, Wagoner falls into the kid country. So we're dealing with small families of above average concentration of Hispanics, large families living in small towns, be no surprise to most of you, and working class households. The next segment would be white collar on down, it's the old manufacturing community in the Milltown and the Simple Pleasures. That one really looks at our I was surprised. I thought that one might be a little bit higher. That's our retired community and those folks. So the information is really, yeah, I thought it might be higher but really the young families were the major push. And you know, I'm talking to, I'm skipping ahead here a little bit, but when I went to the conference in Dallas and talking to retailers, you know, that was what the young families, what really drove the day on Hibbett's located here. I talked to the person that worked with Hibbett's, and you know, their store just couldn't make a go of it. But he said that was the reason we chose Wagoner. That was before our research and everything. But that was the major thing that drove them to locate here initially. A small family concentration of those small families that are really focused on their children's development and that kind of stuff. These are the number that we're going to pay most attention to, and that's our secondary retail area. We see that as 21,000. So when James and Liz are out promoting the city of Wagoner, we want to make sure that they're saying, we've got 21,000 people shopping in the city of Wagoner. Even though our population doesn't reflect that, or according to the U.S. Census, that is the number that we want to portray. And on a side note, we did these studies for OK and Porter along with Coweta. Coweta's secondary retail trade area is a little bit less than Wagner's because they have the distinct honor of being so located to Broken Arrow that shopping stays in Broken Arrow. They're not gonna, you know, there's so much population right next to Coweta. Someone's not gonna drive past 3 Walmarts to go to the Walmart in Coweta. So, and that's what no changes there really. Average household income still 48,000, per capita income around 19 as well. And this is really the meat of the whole thing right here, and one of the major reasons this was done is determine what that gap is. We've had these run before by OSU Extension through rural development. We've also had NSU look at what our leakages is, and Meredith has all that from several years ago when NSU was really doing this leakage, and they still are. We want to focus really on the secondary retail trade area where grocery store is still 17.8. Eating places 18, which surprises me a little bit. Retail stores for sure, and gasoline service stations. All of you know that these were going to be huge. What we really want to drive home is the fact that even though these numbers will be used to try to entice national retailers to come to Wagoner, we still want those existing businesses to use this information, to use this demographics, to go back to their banker and say, I want to expand this certain inventory of mine because this gap is here. So we want this to be used for existing businesses to expand and grow here. These were the questions that really drove the day on the research. Who really fits the community? Do they look at communities our size? These were questions that were asked when we looked at those retailers. They wanted to know the opportunity here and you know, our consultant was out talking to residents and what they really want. I know in Coweta we put on Facebook, the chamber did, what do you want to see? It was really interesting. What business do you really want to see here? And one of the businesses that was detailed was one that the consultant had already established a connection with. It was a clothing store. So that's interesting. And this is just an example of what was provided to a group of retailers. We were presented with maybe a list of 20. James and I went through those retailers and said, okay, from that 20, 15 of those were given information like this, a detailed demographics on Wagoner. The consultant already has those existing relationships with those retailers and was able to make some calls on our behalf. initiate a marketing plan and work, maybe come up with a committee of actual retailers here, some real estate folks, and that kind of thing. Focus on recruitment of new housing opportunities. That was one of their suggestions. Consider initiating a Wagoner commercial exchange that would include regular meetings with chamber, city, commercial realtors, brokers, and developers. If just for the reason to keep the dialogue open and that kind of thing. And they just wanted to drive that point home that about our trade area being over 21,000. So those are some things that came back to us, and Wagoner is really good about this. The city, this research is way after, Wagoner already working with Orchlands, and I know Liz and James worked really hard on getting that retailer to come to Wagoner. They know their knowledge. And so, when you look at that, retail can be recruited. Whereas I come from a background of basically retail just shows up. It follows industry, it follows population. But this research that the County Economic Development Authority really pushed for was to aid in the efforts of James and Liz in the city of Wagoner. What can we do to help what's already being done, to add another element to that? This consultant that we have retained will be on a 12-month coaching period starting from last November till next November, and working with us to strengthen those connections with those retailers. I attended a conference in Dallas and had some really good meetings. One really good meeting with businesses that were interested in locating in this region. There's going to be another one in the nationwide one is in Las Vegas in a couple of months. But the regional ones are where most of our work really is done. And, I tried to really follow up on that entire list that we went through, that James and I did. What I'm doing is I'm sending out emails every 3 months or so to try to say, hey, this property, look at this property, look at this building downtown. Have you ever thought about being in downtown? And, some of them have. So, but that's really this is the retail coach information here. That's who they are. And the consultant that we worked with is just an amazing person and would come down and answer any questions that we might have for them. That's basically what we have done. And like I said, your city is already doing a great job on this issue, but it just takes a constant working through in order to deal with trying to get new folks in and making sure. I really want to drive that point home. We really want existing business and small businesses, people in the community that have always thought about opening a business. Maybe some of this research they could utilize to see where the leaks are.
That's what I was wondering, is did this person make any suggestions about things that, any of you, my office is downtown, so I see it all the time. Some of y'all are downtown. We've got 3/4 of it empty now, between the shop across, the Golden Rule store moving out on which is fine, it's a better location for them, what have you, but that whole building over there in Margie's building, she's got 2 things left, I think, the Boomerang and that old TV repair shop. And then what's Main Street's like. And it's not necessarily because it's not a bad place to be, it's just circumstances.
It is.
A lot of people have I've gotten ill or not able to work, and it's not a good time to sell a building.
And if you look around the state of Oklahoma, there's a lot of downtowns that are a lot.
It's like it.
Yeah, and even worse.
And our buildings
less.
I think our buildings on the front, anybody that comes through, they always comment on how neat it looks downtown. They think the buildings look, that they're still, there's so much potential there. And I think those of us that have worked with Main Street through, I did the original one, however many years ago that was, it's frustrating because there is so much potential there. And I think maybe when you go to those main streets in other towns, you see sometimes some of the things that make it are things that fill a deficit, like that shoe repairman next door to me. My gosh, people come, he's the only one in the whole county and farther away, I think. He can't even keep up.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But that's, it's a destination because there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah, and
So-
that's
So
what
I
we
just
see.
wondered if this retail person, had some suggestions of, other than thinking about those big stores, which probably aren't gonna come, at least not until we grow a lot, of the types of businesses that we might try to recruit.
Well, when we're talking about leakages, and this list, this is just a sample. When we're talking about the national retailers, this was what they're interested in. I have the report that runs it all the way down to we're losing $5,000. I don't know what it is, way down there. So that's where that report would look at those small businesses, and we could run those numbers for anyone and give them that research that they could take to a financier to say, okay, Wagner's missing out on an ice cream shop. I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that there are those, we
It
do
seems
have
like that would be our
research.
best chance with the population base that we have right now.
Very good, yeah. Anyone have any additions, or James, do you have anything to add to? I just really wanted to go over the process. This was one of the updates. I'll continue to work with those leads, with James and with Liz, on that front. This in no way hinders or changes what the city's already doing in terms of being open to recruitment or aiding businesses to come to town on the retail side. Industrial, that's a whole other story. That's not what we're talking about today. It's just
No, I would just like to say that I appreciate so much what Wagner County Economic Development Authority has done. I mean, Mr. Harmon and his board has been very willing to work with the communities in the county. And I think that they understand the future growth of the Wagner County depends on OK and Porter and Wagner and Coweta, and the job that they're doing and that you're doing has been very beneficial, and I appreciate very much what you do.
I do have some information up here for you guys. If you're interested, it's what I hand out at the conferences. It's got traffic counts. If